November 30th, meeting of the Environmental Resources Committee to order. Let's begin with a public comment, not to exceed 15 minutes. I don't believe we had anybody signed up under the general public comment, so we'll move on.
This meeting is being recorded.
Approval of the November 3rd, 2021 committee minutes. Was your pleasure. Motion by Supervisor Drabek to approve. Second by Supervisor Seefeld. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 4, operational functions required by statute, ordinance, or resolution. A, public hearings. Review possible actions and possible recommendations to the county board for its consideration. County zoning changes. We'd request that everybody please mute your phone, or if you're joining online and not speaking, please mute yourself at the moment. The Marathon County Environmental Resources Committee is now meeting in public hearing on the location, plans, specifications, and purpose of the following projects. 1, Larry Zarnke, Farmland Preservation to Rural Residential, Town of Oak Plain. 2, Kenyon and Sue Ann Rose, Neighborhood Commercial to Rural Residential, Town of Alderaan. 3, Kim and Gwen Sandley, Rural Residential to General Agriculture, Town of Spencer. Travis and Lydia Ostrowski. Okay, it's printed differently here, but yeah, Travis and Lydia Ostrowski and Daniel and Christy Day, Low Density Residential to General Agriculture, and General Agriculture to Low Density Residential. Town of Alderaan. Kim Polly, Rural Residential to General Agriculture, Town of Hewitt. Members of the committee, Jake Langenhahn, myself as the chair, Sarah Gild, our vice chair, Bill Conway, Rick Seefeld, Alan Drabek, Randy Pfeifrick, Dave Overbeck are all county board supervisors. Marilyn Ben, who is our Wisconsin Towns and Villages rep, and as well as Eric Vogel, who is our FSA rep. Also present are Lori Mimiskins, our Conservation Planning and Zoning Director, Dominic Swangsu, our Zoning Administrator, Robert Hoffman, our Land Use Technician, Cindy Krager, our Administrative Coordinator, and Andrew Lynch, our Transportation Planner. The establishment of the ERC is required by law for purposes of administration of county ordinances and land conservation programs. This committee must follow state laws and local ordinances as written. This committee cannot change or ignore any part of the ordinances or state laws, but must apply the laws as written. The purpose of this committee is to hear and decide on proposed ordinances and ordinance revisions, rezoning petitions, and provide direction on land conservation and planning programs. The ERC will give a full and fair hearing to any person applying for a rezone petition. A taped recording is being made of the meeting, which will assist with preparation of written hearing minutes. The committee is interested in hearing all pertinent comments and questions. Each hearing will be opened by reading the public notice and allowing staff to present a staff report, including evidence from any on-site inspection. The applicant and anyone wishing to testify will be sworn in and allowed to give testimony. Witnesses will be called in order of those first in favor, second opposed, and then third as interest may appear. The committee may ask questions of the zoning staff and applicant. It is necessary that we set a reasonable time limit on individual statements on the overall length of the hearing. To promote orderly discussion, anyone wishing to present oral testimony or ask questions relating to the hearing should state your name and present your testimony or questions so it becomes part of the official record. We request that you please avoid repetition. Once the committee has all the necessary facts, the chairman will close the hearing, allowing no further testimony, and the committee will deliberate and decide in front of the public whether the applicant has met the standards in the ordinance. No additional testimony from the public is allowed during the deliberation. However, the committee may question staff for purposes of clarification. After a decision is made, the committee will proceed to the next hearing. Many of the decisions made by the committee are a recommendation to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors, who will take up the matter at a future county board meeting. Please contact staff for more information regarding this county board process. So now the committee will now hear the application of 4A1, Larry Zarnke, Farmland Preservation to Rural Residential, Town of Oak Plain, and we will begin with our staff report.
All right, hi, this is Dominic Swangster here. So today's gonna be slightly different here. As the chair had stated, we do have Robert Hoffman here, and he's gonna be presenting the first 3 rezone staff reports. Then after that, I will present the last 2. So at this point, I'll just turn it over to Robert Hoffman. We'll scroll down to the staff report, and I don't know if you want to swear us both in at the same time, just in case.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So, do you both swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you both.
All right, so I'd like to present case number 1, the Larry and Faith Zarnicki petition for rezone for land for today, November 30th, 2021. Findings of fact, there was a public hearing for the Town of Eau Plaine board meeting on November 16th of 2021. And today, obviously, we're meeting for this presentation on November 30th, 2021 at the Environmental Resources Committee. The petitioner is Larry and Faith Zarnicki. The property owner is the same. They are located at 109441 County Road P. The location of the rezone request, the areas proposed to be rezoned are located on the southeastern corner of the intersection of County Road P and Abe Lincoln Avenue, as shown in the below map with this red arrow. The nature of the request, Larry Zarnicki is petitioning to amend to rezone lands from farmland preservation to rural residential as described below. The existing zoning district at hand is farmland preservation, and here is the intent of the farmland preservation zoning district. The proposed zoning district is the rural residential zoning district. Here's the purpose of the rural residential zoning district. Below is an existing zoning district map showing the adjacent parcels in the area are zoned as farmland preservation, shown in the teal color, with a few rural residential zone parcels shown in tan within close proximity. As referenced below, there was a legal notice posted in the Wausau Daily Herald. And moving down to the existing land use cover map for the Town of Eau Plaine, this was taken from their comprehensive plan in 2006. The proposed area to be rezoned is shown as single-family residential and other agricultural land uses in the town's comprehensive plan and existing land use cover map. The adjacent land uses are comprised of similar land uses. Below is the town comprehensive plan future land use map. The areas proposed to be rezoned are partially shown as single-family residential and other agricultural land uses in the town's comprehensive plan future land use map. The adjacent land uses are comprised of similar land uses, so they're relatively similar. Moving down to the implications with the farmland preservation plan, the area in question was designated as a farmland preservation area in the farmland preservation plan. Moving down to prime farm soils, there are no prime farm soils in the area proposed to be rezoned from either Group 1 or Group 2 prime farm soils, as shown in the image below. Moving down to some significant parcel limitations or other natural features. The area or outlot proposed to be rezoned has some DNR mapped wetland areas as shown with green vertical lines in the below image. There are some shoreland overlay areas shown in the light blue on the below image, yet there are no FEMA floodplain areas. And in the below image, shown in red is the proposed area to be rezoned specifically. Moving down, below is a preliminary certified survey map showing the proposed area to be rezoned, roughly 3.735 acres in size, and an aerial image of the area to be rezoned as well. Please once again note that the red dotted boundaries do indicate the proposed area to be rezoned. Moving down to the town recommendation, on November 16th, the Town of Eau Plaine recommended approval to the Marathon County's Environmental Resources Committee, as shown below. Regarding staff comments, this was included previously in the packet. However, our recommendation for staff, our CPZ staff recommendation is that based upon the information provided above, findings of fact, conclusions of law, and the town's recommendation, it appears as though the rezone request meets all of the rezone criteria and standards for rezoning. Therefore, Conservation Planning and Zoning staff recommend that the Environmental Resources Committee recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. Are there any questions? This concludes case number 1.
Any questions from the committee for Robert? I do have one. So the parcel right now that's in Farmland Pres is actually part of a farmland preservation plan, right? It's included in one or no?
I would like to refer to Dominique for assistance on that question.
Yeah, so Robert, if you want to scroll up to the farmland preservation map. So the area in question was designated and adjacent to, I guess the parcel in question is an outlot, and it is zoned farmland preservation. It was included as a farmland preservation area. As a part of this rezone, they're going to be rezoning this parcel to RR and combine it with the parcel to the north under the same ownership. So currently it's an outlot because it doesn't meet the farm pres standards as it relates to size, but after this it will be combined with the adjacent lot. But it was designated as a farmland preservation area.
Okay, thank you. I didn't mean to put you on the spot for the
Thank
first,
you. No, I appreciate it.
for the first question. All right. Any other questions for Robert? Okay. Thank you. Moving on, we'll call first those who wish to speak in favor of the proposed rezone. Please identify yourself at this time. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of the proposed rezone, please identify yourself at this time. I'll call one more time after this. Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none. Anybody wishing to speak against the proposed rezone, please identify yourself at this time. I'll call one more time. Anybody wishing to speak against the proposed rezone, I should say Larry Zarnicki, Farmland Pres to Rural Residential, please identify yourself at this time. And finally, I'll call anybody wishing to speak as interested, please identify yourself at this time. Hearing none, I am now declaring the public hearing on Larry Zarnicki, Farmland Preservation to Rural Residential, Town of Eau Plaine, now closed. The committee will now enter into deliberation on the application and apply the standards of the zoning ordinance. If there's nothing else, what is the pleasure of the committee?
Supervisor Pfeiffer,
Supervisor Pfeiffer, go ahead.
I would make a motion that we recommend approval of the rezone for Larry Zarnicki from Farmland Preservation to Rural Residential in the Town of Eau Plaine to the county board and accept the findings of fact as presented by staff.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Supervisor Seefeld. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on, 4A2, Kenyon and Sue Ann Rose, neighborhood commercial to rural residential, Town of Alderaan.
All right, I would like to present case number 2, Kenyon M. and Sue Ann Rose, petition to rezone land. For public hearings / meetings, the Town of Alderaan Town Board meeting occurred on November 9th, 2021, and today we are discussing this matter during the Marathon County Environmental Resources Committee meeting. The petitioner in this instance is Kenyon M. and Sue Ann Rose. They currently reside at 1184330 County Road II, Eland, Wisconsin 54427. The property owner is the same as the petitioner. Below is an image depicting the location of the rezone request. It is located in an area, proposed to be rezoned is located on the southwestern corner of the intersection of State Highway 29 and State Highway 49, north of County Road II. The nature of the request: the petition of Kenyon and Sue Ann Rose to amend the Marathon County zoning ordinance to rezone lands from neighborhood commercial to rural residential as described below. For existing zoning district, the existing zoning district is neighborhood commercial. Below is the purpose statement, and the proposed zoning district is rural residential. Below is the purpose statement. For existing zoning district map, below is the existing zoning district map for the Town of Alderaan. The adjacent parcels are zoned as rural estate, shown in orange, with other residentially zoned parcels within close proximity. Additionally, there are 1 commercial and industrial zone parcels within the area. Below, there was a legal notification posted in the Wausau Daily Herald. Moving on to the existing generalized land use land cover map for the Town of Alderaan. The area proposed to be rezoned is shown as commercial and woodland uses in the town's comprehensive plan cover map. Adjacent land uses are comprised of similar land uses, yet include residentially classified parcels as shown below. Moving down to the Town Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map, The area proposed to be rezoned is shown as commercial and woodland uses in the Town Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map, similar to the previous map that we just saw. The adjacent land uses are comprised of similar land uses, once again including residential classified parcels. Moving on to significant parcel limitations or natural features, the area proposed to be rezoned does have DNR mapped wetlands and FEMA floodplain areas, as shown below, yet there are no shoreland zoning overlays or waterways located on the parcel of interest. Below, in red, is the proposed area to be rezoned, with the wetlands shown as green vertical lines and the areas designated as floodplain as gray diagonal lines. Moving on to the existing certified survey map, here's an image once again showing the area to be rezoned, approximately 2.4454 acres in size. And moving on to an aerial photograph of the area, showing the existing structures, the land cover that is currently existing in the area, and et cetera. Here's aerial photo number 2, a little bit more zoomed out, showing the area to be rezoned. And once again, the red dotted line does portray the proposed area to be rezoned. Moving down to the town recommendation, on November 9th, 2021, the Town of Alderaan Town Board recommended approval to Marathon County's Environmental Resources Committee, as shown below. Staff comments regarding the Environmental Resources Committee conclusions of law. These were included previously within the packet. The applicant did demonstrate that there is a need for the proposed development. The need basically is related to a proposed change in use via the conversion of the existing bar that is on the property into a single-family dwelling or home. The applicant did demonstrate that there would be adequate public facilities present or will be provided for the proposal, and that providing public facilities will not be an unreasonable burden to the local government. So moving down below, based on the information provided above, findings of fact, conclusions of law, and the town's recommendation, it appears the rezone request meets all of the rezone criteria and standards for rezoning. Therefore, Conservation Planning and Zoning staff recommend that the Environmental Resources Committee recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. I would like to now open it up to any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from staff from the committee? Hearing none. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of the proposed rezone, please identify yourself at this time. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of the proposed rezone Kenyon and Sue Ann Rose, neighborhood commercial to rural residential, please identify yourself at this time. Last call. Anybody wishing to speak in favor? All right, moving on. Anybody wishing to speak opposed to the proposed rezone, Kenyon and Sue Ann Rose, neighborhood commercial to rural residential, please identify yourself at this time. Anybody wishing to speak opposed? Last call. All right, hearing none. Anybody wishing to speak as interested in the proposed rezone, please identify yourself at this time. I'll call one more time. Anybody wishing to speak as interested? Okay, hearing none. I am now declaring the public hearing on Kenyon and Sue Ann Rose, neighborhood commercial to rural residential, town of Alderaan, now closed. The committee will now enter in to process a deliberation on the proposed application. What is the pleasure of the committee?
Supervisor Pfeiffer.
Supervisor Pfeiffer, go ahead.
Okay. I would make a motion that we recommend approval of the rezone, and I apologize, I lost my agenda here on my phone. Was it neighborhood commercial to?
Rural residential, 4A2, Kenyon and Sue Ann Rose.
Okay. Yeah, if you could scroll up, I'm sorry. I'm working off my phone here, so it's from neighborhood commercial district to rural residential, and accept the findings of fact as presented by staff.
Thank you. Motion's been made. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Drayback.
Second by Vogel.
You're just a second too late, Eric. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, 4A3, moving right along here. Kim and Gwen Sandley, rural residential to general agriculture, town of Spencer. Start with the staff report.
All right, as previously mentioned, this is the Kim and Gwen Sandley petition to rezone land. For public hearings and meetings, the Town of Spencer Town Board meeting occurred on October 12th, 2021, and today we are listening to this case. The petitioner is Kim and Gwen Sandley, and the property owners are the same as the petitioner. They are located at 103400 County Road C, Spencer, Wisconsin 54479. The location of the rezone request is shown below. The areas proposed to be rezoned are located approximately 960 feet west of the intersection of County Road V and Colorado Avenue, as shown with this red arrow. The nature of the request: the petition of Kim and Gwen Sandley to amend the Marathon County zoning ordinance to rezone lands from rural residential to general agriculture, as described as part of the legal land description shown below. For the existing zoning district is rural residential. Below is the purpose statement. And for the proposed zoning district, it is general agriculture. Below is the purpose statement for that district. For the existing zoning district map, the adjacent parcels are zoned as general agriculture, shown in white below, and rural estate, shown in orange, with other residentially zoned parcels within close proximity. Once again, a legal notification was posted within the Wausau Daily Herald. For existing land uses, the area proposed to be rezoned is shown as woodland uses in the town's comprehensive plan existing land use / land cover map. The adjacent lands are comprised of similar land uses, including single-family residential, agricultural, and woodland uses. Moving on to the town comprehensive plan future land use map. The area proposed to be rezoned is shown to be designated for residential uses in the town's comprehensive plan future land use map. Adjacent land uses are comprised of similar land uses, including single-family residential, agricultural, and woodland uses, similar to the previously aforementioned plan. Moving on down to the Farmland Preservation Plan, the area in question was designated as a non-farmland preservation area in the Farmland Preservation Plan. Additionally, the town of Spencer does not participate in farmland preservation zoning. Therefore, there are no parcels within the town zone farmland preservation. Moving down to significant parcel limitations or other natural features. The area proposed to be rezoned has DNR mapped wetlands as shown below in green vertical lines. It is partially covered by the shoreland overlay as shown in light blue, yet has no FEMA floodplain areas. The approximate area in question is shown in red below. For the existing certified survey map, below is the old map, and has since been combined with what is shown as lot 1 below. So this is what we have for the existing certified survey map. For the aerial photograph, here once again is an aerial photograph of the area shown to be heavily wooded currently. The red boundary indicates the approximate area once again to be rezoned. Moving on to the town recommendation, on October 12th of 2021, the Town of Spencer Town Board recommended approval to Marathon County's Environmental Resources Committee. Moving on to staff comments regarding the Environmental Resources Committee conclusions of law. This was included in the packet previously. And jumping down to the staff recommendation for conservation planning and zoning, based upon the information provided above, findings of fact, conclusions of law, and the town recommendation / resolution, it appears the rezone request meets all of the rezone criteria and standards for rezoning. Therefore, conservation planning and zoning staff recommend that the Environmental Resources Committee recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. I would like to now open it up to any questions.
All right. Any questions from the committee? Hearing none, thank you. All right. Now, anybody wishing to speak in favor of the proposed rezone for Kim and Gwen Sandley, rural residential to general ag, please identify yourself at this time. Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Last call. Okay, moving on. Anybody wishing to speak against the proposed rezone for 4A3 Kim and Gwen Sandley, please identify yourself at this time. Anybody wishing to speak against? Last call. All right. Anybody wishing to speak as interested? Please identify yourself at this time. Okay. Hearing none, I am now declaring the public hearing for Kim and Gwen Sandley, rural residential to general agriculture, town of Spencer, now closed. The committee will now enter into deliberation on the proposed application. What is the pleasure of the committee? Supervisor Seifeld.
Supervisor Pfeiffer.
I think Supervisor Seifeld's got this one. Randy, thank you. Go ahead, Rick.
I'll make, is this on? Yeah, okay. I'll make a motion for the petition of Kim and Gwen Sandley to amend the county zoning from rural residential to general ag, and to approve all of the conclusions of law and to move it to the county board.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Supervisor Conway, second.
Second by Supervisor Conway. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. 4A4, Travis and Lydia Ostrowski and Daniel and Christy Day, low-density residential to general agriculture and general agriculture to low-density residential, town of Alderaan.
All right, so I'll be taking this one and the next public hearing associated with these rezones. So this is a rezone of the town of Alderaan, and as you had just indicated, this is kind of a twofer here. So it's essentially a land swap and rezone here. So from one zoning district to another, and from that other zoning district to the previously mentioned district here. The parcel in question is located just southwest of State Highway 29 and the intersection of Black Cherry Drive. So as you can see in this description, there's some lands going from general ag to low-density residential and low-density residential to general ag. There are two parcels in question, but we wanted to be consistent with previous rezones and include this on one application itself. Moving down to the existing zoning district map, adjacent parcels are zoned general agriculture, shown in white, as well as rural estate in orange. And you can also see that there are some other residentially zoned parcels within close proximity. Existing generalized land use land cover map from the town of Alderaan's updated comprehensive plan. And that was actually recently updated in 2021, so this year. So you can see here it's a little difficult to differentiate the parcel boundary lines for the area in question, but we did our best to identify that with the red arrow on the map. The area proposed to be, I guess I should say the areas proposed to be rezoned are shown as both agriculture and residential land uses in the town's updated comprehensive plan. Adjacent uses are comprised of similar land uses as well. And almost identical to the existing land use map, the future land use map shows the area in question also as residential and agricultural in the future land use. And again, it's a little difficult to differentiate the difference between the 40 that is owned by Daniel Day and the parcel that is currently zoned low-density residential owned by Travis Ostrowski. Farmland preservation plan, both areas in question were designated as farmland preservation areas, yet the town of Alderaan does not participate in farmland preservation zoning. Therefore, there are no parcels within the town that are zoned farmland preservation. Moving down to specific parcel limitations or natural features, a portion of the parcel proposed to be rezoned from LDR to general ag does have some shoreline overlay, but the other portion going from general ag to low-density residential does not have any significant natural features or limitations. You'll see here, this kind of better describes the rezone in question. These two areas, it's essentially a land swap to allow for a garage addition to a home. And I know there is another diagram below here that should identify and make it slightly more clear here. So you'll see the aerial photo with staff comments and annotations here, I apologize. So the area in red is going from LDR to GA, whereas the area shown in yellow is going from GA and going to LDR. On November 9th, the Town of Alderaan Town Board recommended approval to Marathon County Environmental Resources I apologize, the Environmental Resources Committee. The town did also note that the town gives full approval to this rezone petition, and was signed. The staff comments regarding the ERC conclusions of law as included in the packet, and the need is associated with a land transfer to allow for a home addition, as I had previously alluded to. And based on that information, the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and the town's recommendation, it appears that the rezone request meets all of the rezone criteria. Therefore, CPC staff recommend that the ERC recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. And that concludes the staff report.
Any questions from the committee for staff? I don't know if it's a question, but on page 81, I think you got it up right now there with that flip. So in their future land use map, it looks like that entire area is determined to be in general agriculture. And even before, there was that small bit that was in low density residential before. So even with this change, it's going to be consistent with that older sort of plan or that map. But with their future land use plan, it looks to be all general ag, right?
Yes, so you'll see on here, and I apologize if it's a little difficult to see, and I can try to zoom in here a little bit. But what I've noticed with some of these updated plans, there is this little yellow block here. That's the approximate location of the home. So with these types of maps, excuse me, I've seen that they're not necessarily land use maps, they're more land cover maps. So let's say there was a home on the 40 to the south, it wouldn't designate the whole 40 as residential, it would just show where that home is. But you are correct that the majority of the smaller parcel has some residential land uses, but to the south, it is shown as cropland and woodland. But it is still consistent, at least partially with the map.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that. I just wanted to make sure I'm reading or I'm examining that map correctly. So thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right.
Supervisor Pfeiffer,
Oh, Supervisor Pfeiffer, go ahead.
not really a question, just a comment for staff. You did a good job with the presentation and explaining that with that diagram there. Because until I got to that point, I was really confused on what was going on, but you did a really good job of showing what you're doing there. So good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Pfeiffer. Anything else from the committee? All right. Hearing none. Thank you, staff. Let's move on here. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of the proposed rezone for, let's see here, Travis and Lydia Ostrowski and Daniel Christie Day, LDR to GA and GA to LDR, Town of Alderaan. Please identify yourself at this time.
Chairman, so we do have both petitioners here, but they had indicated that they are here to answer any questions if need be. So that's something if anyone on the committee has any questions for them.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Well, why don't you both state your names? This is going to just take a second in case the committee does have any questions. Yeah, go ahead, Rick. Give him a microphone. So we'll start with you.
Travis Ostrowski.
Okay.
Daniel Day.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
All right. Thank you both. Are there any questions for the applicants from the committee? Any questions? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you both. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor, identify yourself at this time. I'll call one more time, or final call. All right. Anybody wishing to speak against the proposed rezone, please identify yourself at this time. Anybody wishing to speak against, final call. Hearing none. Anybody wishing to speak as interested on the proposed rezone, please identify yourself at this time. Final call. All right. Hearing none, I'm now declaring the public hearing for Travis and Lydia Ostrowski and Daniel and Christy Day, low-density residential to general agriculture and general agriculture to low-density residential, Town of Alderaan, now closed. The committee will now enter into the deliberation. What is the pleasure of the committee?
Supervisor Pfeiffer,
Go ahead, Supervisor Pfeiffer.
I would make a motion that we recommend approval of the Travis and Lydia Ostrowski and Daniel and Christy Day rezone from LDR, low density residential, to general agricultural and general agricultural to low density residential in the Town of Alderaan, and accept the findings of fact as presented by staff.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? Seconded by Supervisor Seefeld. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those, those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you both for coming today. Sure. All right. Thank you, guys. All right, we got one more here. 485, Kim Polly, rural residential to general agriculture, town of Hewitt.
All right, so moving on to the staff report here. So this is the fifth and final rezone on this month's agenda. So a rezone in the town of Hewitt from rural residential to general agriculture. As you can see here on the town plat map, and I apologize if you look toward the right side of the map, if I recall, that's actually north, but it's kind of orientated a little interesting. But the area proposed to be rezoned is approximately 1,000 feet west of the intersection of State Highway 52 and Star Road. The existing zoning district map, adjacent parcels are zoned general agriculture, shown in white, with other residentially zoned parcels within close proximity. You'll see on this map here that there doesn't appear to be any parcel boundary lines or anything over the area in question. This is because there was previously a parcel here, and then at some point in the the recent past, that parcel was combined with the larger general agricultural parcel. So with this rezone, essentially they're looking to redesignate that general ag. The existing generalized land use land cover map in this happens very rarely here, but we do have the State Highway 52 sign kind of right in what we're looking at here. So we did have to do some interpretation of the map, but based on what we were able to see, the area proposed to be rezoned was shown as woodland and partially cropland in the town's comprehensive plan existing land use map. There are similar land uses within close proximity, but there are also some residentially zoned parcels. Moving down to the future land use map from 2006, the map is nearly identical. The area in question, again, what we can see here is shown as cropland and woodland in the future land use map. Farmland Preservation Plan, the area in question was designated as a farmland preservation area in the plan, yet the town of Hewitt does not participate in farmland preservation zoning. Significant parcel limitations or natural features. The area in question does have some DNR mapped wetlands, yet does not have any shoreline overlay areas nor any floodplain areas. And this diagram here or map actually identifies and kind of clearly shows where that parcel was previously, and then it also has that parcel accommodation document number here. So essentially they're looking to keep the entire parcel that is now currently split zoned under one zoning classification. All right, so the existing certified survey map. So the previous parcel PIN number ending in 0992 has since been combined with the larger parcel as shown in the mapping. So for the public hearing description and everything associated with that, we did describe it using this previous parcel PIN number just to better identify the area, given there was a previous certified survey map versus referring to the actual description of the area since we had that information available. Aerial photo here shows the parcel in question, again with that CSM number. Town recommendation on November 8th, 2021, the Town of Hewitt Town Board recommended approval to the Marathon County Environmental Resources Committee. They did not have any additional comments to provide to the ERC. Okay, and this is the staff comments regarding the ERC conclusions of law. All of this was included in the packet. Again, if any of the committee members has any questions on the information provided in here, feel free to ask, and we can ideally address those questions or concerns with that. And with that, based on the information provided above, findings of fact, conclusions of law, and the town's recommendation/resolution, it appears the rezone request meets all of the rezone criteria. Therefore, CPC staff recommend that the ERC recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. And that concludes the staff report.
Okay. Any questions for staff from the committee? All right, hearing none. Thank you. And Dom, that's your last one.
That's the last one.
That's the last one. All right. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of the proposed rezone, please identify yourself at this time. Call one more time. Anybody wishing to speak?
My name is.
What was that, sir? Go ahead.
My name is Tim Polly. And I just basically.
Tim, I'm going to stop you.
On the phone
I
conference.
got to stop and swear you in, okay? So state your name.
Okay. Tim Polly.
Tim, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Tim. Go ahead. Or Kim, sorry.
Like I said, my name is Kim Polly. Basically, I'm on phone conference in case the committee has any questions to ask me directly with the rezone.
Thank you, Kim. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, hearing none. Thank you for attending today, Kim. I appreciate it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of the proposed rezone, please identify yourself at this time. Okay, hearing none. Anybody wishing to speak against the proposed rezone, please identify yourself at this time. Hearing none. Anybody wishing to speak as interested for the proposed rezone, please identify yourself at this time. Okay. Hearing none, I'm now declaring the public hearing for Kim Polly, rural residential to general agriculture, town of Hewitt, now closed. Committee will now enter into deliberation on the application. What is the pleasure of the committee?
Supervisor Pfeiffer.
Go ahead, Supervisor Pfeiffer.
I'd make a motion that we recommend approval of the rezone for Kim Polly from rural residential to general agricultural in the town of Hewitt and accept the findings of facts as presented by staff.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Drayback. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And we are through the rezones for today. Thank you, everybody. Moving on, 4B, review and possible recommendation to the county board for its consideration. Town zoning changes pursuant to state statute 60.62 sub 3. We have none. C, review and possible recommendations to the county board for its consideration. C1, to approve the annual county forest work plan. I don't know if we have Tom, or I'm not quite sure who's taking this.
Supervisor Langenhahn, this is Tom here.
Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, thank you. So this is the 2022 work plan that has been has work involved on the county forest, and the resolution sets out that if the work plan is approved by the county board, that we get certain grant funding for my position. So that's why we do this, and that's why we send it through the county board every year. The Forestry Recreation Committee met and discussed it in detail a couple hours ago, and they're recommending approval. So this basically just maps out what we're planning to do on the county forest for 2022. And I guess I'll just stop and ask if there are any questions on the work plan.
Any questions for Tom? Seeing none, Tom, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, but it sounds like this is something we'll have to, or we have done and we'll have to do in the future. So I guess a motion to approve would be in order. Motion by Supervisor Seafeld for approval. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Drayback.
Conley, second. Oh.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same. Those opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Thank you. And then we have C2, application for county forest acreage share loan payment.
I'll take that one too. So This is a similar resolution that the committee has seen in previous years. It's based upon the DNR allowing for 50 cents per acre to be paid to the county to use for the purchase, development, preservation, and maintenance of county forest lands. It totals about $15,000 a year. And typically in the past, what we've used this money for is actually for acquisition of county forest lands, where we could apply for a 50% state grant, the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Funding, and then we have a pot of money that would match this loan to be able to purchase property without going to the county board and asking for any other types of funding for that. We can also use it for purchases, trees. We've used it for purchase of a tractor way back when, but typically we use it for, or we have been using it for land acquisition. So basically we pay this back by, for every dollar of timber stumpage that we receive from the timber contractors, 20 cents of that dollar goes to repay the state loan. And even with this funding of $15,000, we're paying more off in the loan every year than what we're actually getting. So we're actually repaying the loan down, and we use this money, as I said, as a match to for our land acquisition program.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
Any questions for Tom? Hearing none, what is the pleasure of the committee? Supervisor Seefeld with a motion to approve, or accept, I should say. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Drabeck. Thank you. Motion has been made in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. 4D, review and possible action. 4D1, consider additions to the non-metallic mining fee schedule. Okay, Teal, you online?
Yeah, I am. I'm here with Andy Lynn. So if the committee wouldn't mind, I can just further explain the memo briefly here. The non-metallic mining program statutorily is allowed to run essentially, it's a fee-based program regulating non-metallic mines in the county. We're not to run a deficit or surplus. We realized that there were a couple fees or potential fees that were omitted that other counties throughout the state charge, and that would be a permit transfer fee as well as a reclamation plan revision fee. We looked at surrounding counties, counties of comparable size, counties who have a similar number of non-metallic mines as what we do, and saw that their fees range from thousands of, across the board, thousands of dollars to several hundred. So what we're proposing is to implement both a permit transfer fee of $500 in Marathon County, that's a flat fee, and then a reclamation plan revision fee of $250 flat fee. And then we would, using the annual fee table, charge for any additional new acres that would be permitted as part of a potential revision. The fees that we're proposing in looking at the surrounding counties are comparable and on the low end of the average, but we feel that they would adequately cover staff time that's involved with number of transfers as well as revisions that we see per year, and that doesn't add up to be very many. We maybe see one or two permit transfers a year and one or two reclamation plan revisions per year. So it's not anything terribly substantial, but we want to cover staff time. Are there any questions?
Thank you. And I remember, I believe we discussed this at one point or another within this past year. We talked about making some fee adjustments to cover the cost of the program. Are there any questions from the committee? Teal, I just want to confirm then, I think it's the page that we're on right now, B115, I think. So that's essentially the new fee schedule, correct?
That is correct, and you can see in red is the permit transfer fee, flat fee of $500. Below that is the reclamation plan revision fee, which is a flat fee of $200 to cover revisions such as making the mine go deeper, where total acreage isn't affected. And then so there's that flat fee, and then any additional acreage would be charged based on the fee schedule. The table above, that's not changing at all. So it's just the addition of those two.
Very good. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, I believe a motion to approve would be in order. Who wants to get their name in the meeting minutes? Motion by Supervisor Seefeld to approve. Is there a second?
Pfeiffer seconds.
Who is that with the second?
Supervisor Pfeiffer.
Thank you, Supervisor Pfeiffer. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor of the proposed metallic mining reclamation fees change signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, and then 4D2, environmental repair fund status. I think I'll start with this just a little bit. We had some discussion at the committee meeting last month, and this was brought up by a supervisor on this committee. And the idea there was that we had some discussions about ERF in the past and how that could positively benefit Marathon County. There was a memo in your packet last month, and I believe Supervisor Pfeiffer, you wanted to have a discussion about the status of the ERF and where we could be going with it. So I included on the agenda again this month for additional discussion. I know, Randy, did you have anything you wanted to add for this item?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. This was an item that back in 2 terms ago, when I was on the Solid Waste Management Board, that we had looked at and we had formed a subcommittee on, and we had gotten all the way through the process of coming up with a process and procedure for putting these funds to use. And when we got pretty close to the finish line, Corp Council at the time stated that, and we found out that the statutes really didn't allow us to do anything with these funds. We were really just holding on to them. So it was left at that point, and that was probably 3 years ago, that there needed to be conversation with the legislator. And I know that there was conversation with Senator Petrusky over a number of different times, but this just seems to be an item that keeps lagging behind. And I just want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to push it forward and see that these funds can be put to use within the county.
Thank you, Supervisor Pfeiffer. So, and I'm glad we're on the same page, because where we left off last month was that we believed it would be a legislative change that would be necessary in order to free up these funds for use. And I did not actually know that there was a process in place to use the funds that we can't use, which is interesting. I think that we probably should have some discussions with, as I said last month, the county board chairman, to see what the status is and what other potential opportunities there might be to make some legislative changes. I did mention that last month, and I did not reach out to Chair Gibbs. I'll see if I can do that for our January meeting. But for a little bit more discussion, Supervisor Pfeiffer, are you fairly confident that the direction is a legislative change based on your experiences with that group?
Yeah, so we're pretty much handcuffed at this point until the legislator makes a change to the state statute. And interestingly, this repair fund was put together at the request of Marathon County back in the day. So it seems that it would be appropriate that the request to now amend how this money that was collected would come from the county as well to the legislators. It sounded like something that everybody was on board with, at least the folks that I've had conversations with. It's just a matter of actually going through that process in Madison.
Okay. Well, I think what we'll do for some follow-up is I'll reach out to the county board chair and see if he can be at our meeting this next month. And at the very least, he can provide an update of where it is. And if it isn't an update, then possibly we could see what sort of activity that we can pursue in order to free up those funds. So I guess for today, as of November 30th, 2021, just stay tuned for what will happen this next year. We do have an election coming up in April, so I'm not quite certain how much activity we can get on it, but we can at least start having the discussions to keep going forward. So, Randy, did you have anything else to add?
Yeah, just one more item on there. I think it'd be good to have the solid waste department head, Melissa, at that discussion, or at least virtually, so that she could add in what she's been doing on that as well.
I will make a note of that. We can have them present for the discussion this next month. Okay. All right. Anything else from the group? All right. Thank you all. Moving on here. 5, educational presentations, outcome monitoring reports, and committee discussions. A, department updates, conservation planning and zoning. 5A1, review draft language for the animal waste management ordinance / open house dates for public engagement.
So Paul isn't able to be here today, but this is Matt Repking, by the way.
Thank
I'm
you,
here
Matt.
just, sorry about that, and just have a discussion about what the proposed revisions are and what we're doing for public education. So with the memo you guys received, you can see there's several proposed revisions. The reason why we're requesting to make these revisions is actually at the request of, or in suggestion of DNR. They suggested that we take our ordinance, and we have some things that are kind of lumped together now, and actually break these out and define them as they are in the administrative state code in our 151. So right now, tolerable soil loss and the phosphorus index are kind of lumped in with nutrient management, and why it doesn't specifically say that in our ordinance, that's where those two fall under. So those aren't really necessarily new revisions to the ordinance, but more of a clarification. The clean water diversions for feedlots, manure storages, and barnyards, that would be a new addition to the ordinance. We just kind of want to try to keep clean water clean, so keep it off feedlots, essentially off barnyards. And for manure storages, you don't want that added cost of hauling that water for farmers, and then also we don't want it taking up capacity. Processed wastewater, that one also was in our ordinance already, but again, at the suggestion of DNR, request kind of break that out and define it a little better so there's a little more transparency there. No unconfined manure piles in a water quality management area. This is within 300 feet of a stream, 1,000 feet of a lake or a pond. This is just more of a best management practice, kind of keep our manure stacks high and dry if we can, and as far away from any water sources as we can, try to minimize that runoff. And kind of the last one would be a 5-foot tillage setback. In our area, since we have such broad drainage basins, it's pretty difficult to get within 5 feet of a stream, river, anything like that. In southern Wisconsin, this applies a little bit more, but that's what the standard is. So that's what we would be proposing. Again, like I said, a lot of these are at the request of DNR. And the reason for these is when we apply for grants, it makes Marathon County more competitive if we have all these broken out and identified. When we applied for a trim grant for the Fenway Creek watershed. We actually got downgraded because we didn't have all these broken out and clarified as we should have. I think you guys remember probably a year and a half ago, we came to the committee and we did some of the revisions at that time to the animal waste ordinance. And after our application for that trim grant and using the ordinance for a year and a half, you know, I think these clarifications would help. For our public engagement, what we have is we have 2 open houses. One's on December 6th in Wausau. The other's on December 7th in Stratford at the library. We've also been in communications with some farmers on the eastern side of Marathon County, and we have a meeting set up with them on December 15th. We're still working on a place. Farm Bureau, Paul's been in communication with them, and we're going to be meeting with them in mid-December. And then we're always actively seeking input from the general public. A memo very similar to the one that you guys received went out last week to about 850 farmers in Marathon County. The farmers were a list that we generated from DATCAP for dairy farmers in the county, and then also from anybody that submits a nutrient management plan in Marathon County. So that's where our list of 850 landowners came from. And then this week we also sent it to the same memo to town chairman. So we're trying to reach as many people as possible for their opinion, public input, and trying to meet with anybody that may have concerns, questions about what our suggested changes are to the ordinance for the revisions. Does anybody have any specific questions or suggestions at all?
Any questions from the committee?
Yeah, this is Eric Vogel.
Go ahead, Eric.
Eric?
So these proposed changes get made. Do the existing farmers get grandfathered in, or how does that all work?
Which portion are you specifically referring to, Eric?
Well, I don't know. I guess I'm thinking of, say, a barnyard runoff. You know, there was gutter systems involved or installed on my farm to abide by county codes years ago, and you know that those gutters drain roof water into, say, a barnyard. And so, are they going to make me have to change that, or what goes on with that? I guess specifically is what I'm wondering about.
No, usually what we're looking at is for the ordinance. Usually it's worst case scenario situation. So it provides us with the ability to address situations where there's bad barnyard runoff. One example I can give you is there's a barnyard in the Fenway Creek that we tried to work with the landowner during the trim grant we had. We weren't able to do it at that time. The person didn't want to cooperate with us. DNR didn't take any enforcement on it, even though it was a pretty bad barnyard running off into the road ditch. And now through our ordinance, we're able to have a tool that we can work with that landowner through enforcement if we have to try to get some changes to that area to prevent the runoff to the stream in the road ditch.
So is it more of a case-by-case basis as seemed necessary or deemed necessary?
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was assuming, but I just wanted to clarify that.
Nope, I appreciate your question, but yes, that's what it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Eric. Any other questions? Matt, I've got a few. So I've gotten a couple calls, one from within my district, one outside my district, about one of the, I don't know if you want to call it clauses, but one of the portions of the existing code, because the draft that I think is posted on the website right now, what's in blue is a proposed change. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so on page 8 of that code, and I can see staff is pulling it up now, which is perfect. Oh, I think. Oh, no, might have to keep going. Is that, what is that page? Page 8? And scroll up to the top, please. Right there. D. So I've had a couple people ask me about this. Livestock facility shall not have direct runoff of animal waste from an animal lot into waters of a state or direct conduit to groundwater. 50. Well, the main thing is that 1,000 feet navigable water. And I've had a bunch of people contact me and say, well, now can you pasture by a creek, basically? I just want to confirm that livestock facility that doesn't reference a farmer that's doing pasture work, right? That's an actual facility that is involved in animal work. Is that correct?
That wouldn't apply to the pasture portion of it. So if you go right below there, Jacob, to where it says allow unlimited access by livestock to waters of the state in a location where high concentrations of animals prevent the maintenance of adequate fodder self-sustaining vegetation, that would apply more to pasturing stream banks. When we're looking at pasturing, in stream corridors, there's always going to be a little bit of area that may, where the cattle cross or go down to drink or anything like that. What we're concerned about is areas that are really beat up and become mud along that, or earth along that stream corridor. That there's a high potential for erosion and for just stream degradation in general. The barnyard wouldn't necessarily apply along a stream corridor unless they're actively kind of locked or fed in that area. More or less along stream corridors, the main thing we're concerned about is that it's not to the point where it's degrading unless they're actually putting round bales or feeder wagons or something along that line down in that area and feeding there. And it's becoming a mud or earthen lot where it doesn't have any vegetation. Does that answer your question?
Possibly. I guess what I'm trying to ask is that in regards to potential setbacks from a stream, if we do have pastures out there that are, let's assume that it's not degrading the environment that's adjacent to those streams or where they're doing their pasture work, that this code isn't, how do I say this? This code isn't meant to prohibit any sort of pasturing next to a stream, right? Like that wasn't the intent here. That's what I'm gathering.
That's correct.
Okay.
No, we're not trying to prohibit that or stop it.
Okay.
As long as it's managed properly, it's fine.
Yeah, and I that is the only thing I've heard about the code, and it's not even among the list of changes. So I'm not quite certain where that's coming from, but that might be something that gets brought up at a public engagement piece. So please be aware of it. So that's the first thing, and thank you for that information. The second thing, and again, it's not necessarily related to the changes, but it's related to the code. There's numerous times in this code that CAFOs are referenced, and I thought that we couldn't do anything in regards to regulating CAFO operations, but it's referenced a couple times. Do you know why that is?
It's more, the reason why it's referenced is that it's defined within our code, so that we can become involved with CAFOs, but generally we're not the ones that are regulating them. DNR, it falls back onto DNR. But we do sometimes go out for complaints at CAFOs. As far as the facilities are concerned, they usually have a requirement that goes above and beyond anything in our ordinance. So they, for the most part, meet everything, or they will meet everything in our ordinance, but we still need to define what they are and where we do have authority, per se.
That makes
For
sense.
the animal unit side. Okay.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I didn't know the extent to which we could even, how do I say, go near that topic. And it sounds like there is a little bit of work that we do that would lead us into CAFO operations. But I got two more.
One quick.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
One quick example for CAFOs would be nutrient management plans. Since they do all have facilities that were built and that are permitted in Marathon County for manure storages, they are required to submit nutrient management plans to our office. So that's one area where we can become involved with CAFOs.
Very good. Okay, a couple more. In regards to, and you know what? My thought just escaped me. But I had another one. So Stratford and Wausau are the two locations for the open, or the open house, so to speak. That I'm guessing is done, or those two locations were done to hit the western side and the eastern side of the county?
Yes.
Okay.
And then we're actually going to have a separate meeting too, besides that, with some eastern side farmers that were concerned, that we already had some discussions with.
Excellent.
That'll be on December 15th.
Excellent. Okay. All right. I think that's all I had, Matt. Thank you for answering those questions. I do appreciate the
You're welcome.
information. Anything else from the committee? Marilyn, go ahead.
Isn't there something already that says that they cannot cultivate the land within a certain distance of a stream? And then it also is, what is the definition of a navigable stream?
So there isn't anything that says that you can, so the 5-foot tillage setback would be new, and there isn't anything currently that says we can't till anything within a certain distance of a stream. So the 5-foot would be a new one. There isn't anything else in our ordinance that discusses that. And
Are you aware now that there's the waters of the lands or something like that, is that there's going through redefining? It was fairly lenient. Now it may be stricter and then about lenient again, and where that they might even see waters of the land would be considered part of the town's drainage ditches. So you need to be looking at that too to see what they say about what's the navigable waters of the lands.
so what we have defined in for the revisions is surface waters. And this is just from NR 102, the definition, and what it has is, and we just try to be consistent with what the state definitions are. It means all natural and artificial named and unnamed lakes or naturally flowing streams within the boundaries of the state, but not including cooling lakes, farm ponds, and facilities constructed for the treatment of wastewaters. So that, from that definition, that's pretty broad, and it encompasses a lot of different water bodies.
I think Dom had something to add. Go ahead, Dom.
Yeah, I'll briefly add to that, and I know Robert has another definition pulled up. But we do deal with, on the zoning side of things, quite a few navigability determinations each year with smaller streams in people's backyards, more for zoning projects. But there are a few criteria that we do follow that are identified by the DNR, looking at, defined bed and bank as well as vegetation, the width of the stream and things like that, the origins of the stream. So generally, like drainage ditches aren't, we would not classify those as a navigable waterway. Currently based on our practices and the DNR's direction. But when it comes to each of these streams, we look at them case by case, and then also generally check with the DNR if there is any confusion or possible variation.
What about where the federal government is trying to say waters of the land? And that they're thinking about making changes to that now. Have you heard anything new on that, how that would affect conservation zoning and planning?
I personally have not. Generally, the waterways we deal with are waters of the state, because it's all under state jurisdiction. So if there's something that would possibly supersede that, that would be something that we would want to be aware of as well, because it might affect our jurisdiction. But just I know based on different states, they have different jurisdictions on how they would define a navigable waterway or a natural waterway. But currently, I know for zoning specifically, we look at those on a case-by-case, looking at specific characteristics and definitions that are provided to us by the DNR, who are the main agency or entity that regulates those waters of the state. But when it comes to waters of the land, I personally am not familiar with that.
That's a federal thing that they're renegotiating again.
Okay. Couple other things to add, and then I think we're good here because and I direct the committee's attention to the memo that was in the packet because there's good information in there with this timeline coming up here. So it looks like, Matt, the 6th and the 7th, that's where those public meetings will be held. I just request that staff post a notice that a quorum of the committee might be there in the event that some of us show up. We're obviously not going to meet to take any action on anything, but there might be some educational interest there. On top of that, that January 4th, 2022 public hearing date, that's the first step in this process. So please make sure you get here and make sure there's a quorum for that date so that we can get this stuff in motion, because the worst case scenario is that this isn't done timely and we end up having to cross over into an election, and then in April we have to do all the re-educating, or I shouldn't say re-educating, that's not a great word, but we have to do the educating again. So please make sure January 4th that you show up for that. Matt, that's all I had. Do you have anything else?
Nope, I don't have any additional information. Thanks, Dom, for clarifying that also.
Okay. Well, let's move on then, and we'll have some more activity on that item January 4th next year. Okay. I got to get back up in my packet here to the agenda, and there we go. 5A2, strategic plan update. We got a couple people here. I think first we can start with Lori, and then we also have Vice Chair Craig McEwen here. Talk a little bit more about strategic plan. We've been talking about it a little bit over the past couple months, but I think we had agreed that we were going to meet back at our December, and I say December in quotation marks here, meeting to have a little bit more discussion and see where we're going. Lori, do you want to use my mic? There we go.
So, so if you refer to page 132 of the packet, Supervisor McEwen did come here in October and to give us an update on the strategic plan and encourage us to start dusting off our action item table. So what we did was we did take the first stab at getting some of those updated in terms of where we've been since, I believe the last time this was updated was in December of 2019 or early 2020. So we did go through and make some additions and adjustments in terms of where we are on some of our actionable items related to the strategies. I won't go through every line item in the table, but Starting on page 1, obviously there's some things related to our zoning amendments, zoning ordinance, and subdivision plat approvals that we've updated the numbers there. Revisions to the zoning ordinance, we usually propose minor ones every year, and we will be bringing some forth to the ERC in January and February. One of the things we added to the table here is we've been trying to increase our education and webinars that we'll be doing with the towns related to zoning and comprehensive planning topics. This is a request we've definitely gotten from the towns to give more education related to this. We'd hoped to get more underway in 2021, but with COVID, that did get delayed, and so now we're targeting the spring of 2022 to roll out some more education for the towns related to that. Moving on to page 2, I think just highlighting a couple things here at the bottom. Again, we'll continue to bring forth revision updates to Chapter 22, the Shoreline Wetland Floodplain Code. And I'm not sure if we have anyone on from Parks still, but on page 3, I believe Jamie added a couple items related to some things Park has been doing in acquiring more public land, 40 acres in the town of Harrison, and they're also working on acquiring 39 acres in adjacent to Brokaw County Park. And then moving on to page 4, we did adopt the Land and Water Resource Management Plan last February, so Paul had added that in. And we also have a grant-funded conservation specialist on staff, and then we were able to create that grant-funded water resource specialist as well to help us meet Strategy B under Objective 6.3. And then moving to the last page, I think one of the things I wanted to highlight here is I believe it was the November 2nd meeting, we talked about that we need to revisit the discussion on the POUTS loan program. So we have outreach to McDevco to sit down with them in December to discuss or evaluate the couple applications they have received and how that has worked, and start to get a sense of how that loan program is working or not working, and bring some information back to the ERC in the spring to discuss that further. So again, this is just the first. We just wanted to get this information updated so we could kind of see where we stand with many of our actions related to the 2 objectives charged to this committee. So.
Very good. So this isn't necessarily anything, but I should say the information here has probably changed, but the format as far as how we report on our objectives isn't anything new. So it should look at least a little bit familiar. And a big thank you to staff for going back and updating the information in that document, as well as the work the committee has done the past couple months. So Vice Chair McEwen, did you have anything to add?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do want to thank the update on this template as far as the strategies, especially because I think last time I wanted to stress to make sure that you're looking at the strategies, and some of them, may not fit into the type of issues that we're dealing with now, because this was, like I said, developed in 2018. But like I said, it's very, very easy to follow, and I encouraged all the other standing committees to try to utilize this template to follow this as far as tracking what's been done. And I think a couple things that I just want to emphasize is that we're ending our 4th year of the 5-year strategic plan. So in 2022, in December, this plan will have to be updated. And with the information that we're going to utilize from all the standing committees is going to make a big difference on, updating that would be a 2022, 2027 strategic plan. This is very vital to have all the committees document this. And I guess one last thing is I did ask that basically we have 4 months left in in this term, and I think you mentioned that we're going to have in April, you know, we're going to have some new faces and you know, but I just asked, what does this committee with 4 months left, what do they want to accomplish before the end of that term? And like I said, this is, you know, very easy to follow this template, but like I said, it's very vital that we get these updated. So I really appreciate that. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. Anything from the committee yet? Ellen, do you have something?
Mr. Chairman, did I miss out on this EFT or whatever that money that we had that gave over to? Did we come to a discussion on that? Because I was trying to drive from Shawano from Board of Directors meeting to here, and I don't know if I missed out on it.
Well, we had some discussion on the ERF funding, but that's different than EIF. ERF is the Environmental Repair Fund. The EIF funding, the Environmental Impact Fund, that was the funds that we had given to McDevco for that revolving loan fund program. We did have some discussion last month about the need for that program because, well, and you know this, the Wisconsin fund keeps getting funded, right? And at the time that we had established that revolving loan fund, the basis behind that revolving loan fund was that the money wasn't going to get funded in the upcoming budget, and it kept getting funded. So now we have a fairly significant, Lori, I don't know the number, but I think we have a pretty fairly significant amount of funding just sort of sitting aside, ready to be used. And we have had some applications, but I don't think any of them have actually been completed and submitted.
Correct. I believe there are 2 in process, but that's one of the reasons I wanted to sit down with McDevco to kind of figure out what the hangups are in terms of why they're not moving through.
So actually some have been submitted then, because if they're being processed.
And I say in process, but I don't know exactly. I don't know if they're incomplete or.
Sure, and McDevco can tell you.
They've, you know, the applicants or the landowners have been to McDevco to sit down with them and discuss the program. So.
Okay.
My concern, though, and Lori, is that $400 application fee. I think that is way too high considering what it takes to fill out the application. I just think that that might be one of the reasons why nobody's taken advantage of that, is because I just think it's way too high for administrative type fee for something like that.
I don't know the fine points of that program because it's been years since this committee has taken a look at it. But if that is the case, I thought we had some discussions about whether or not the EIF funding could be used for those administrative costs. Because if that's the case, then the $400 application fee really should be going back into the EIF fund itself. It shouldn't be going on the person that's applying.
And
I don't recall the finer points of the program. So.
And I am not familiar with that.
Sure. That might be a question that you ask McDevco when you meet with them. So, Randy, I heard you, but let's do Maryland and then we'll go to you, okay?
Because I know the town of Johnson was one of the first towns in the state of Wisconsin to get the Community Development Block Grant Program. And that is where they can have improvements to their property and they can pay it, they have to pay it back when they no longer live in the facility. Or they can't rent it out. But for them to fill out that application, we don't even charge them anything for that. You know, so I see that $400 fee is up front, and then they have to do all the paperwork. I just think that that's way too high to have them fill out a short application. I can't see the justification for $400.
All right. Thank you, Marilyn. Randy, go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of echo what Marilyn's saying there. I wasn't necessarily in favor of the change in the environmental impact funds when we went away from the previous program to supplementing the Wisconsin fund. And I think it would be good for the committee, whether it's sometime in January or February, if we could get an update. I know McDevco has some new staff, so they may be getting up to speed on some of the stuff as well. But just to get an update to the committee on some of the history on this, where it's currently at. And my understanding was that as long as the Wisconsin fund was out there, that there really wouldn't be the need for anybody to apply for this program. So I'm wondering why we're getting applications on that.
I know a little bit about there was one of the applicants does not qualify for the Wisconsin fund, but may qualify, like just through sort of a finer detail, may qualify for the loan program. But again, I think, yes, we'll be able to bring you more information in February after we've been able to sit down with McDevco and go through some of the what they've faced in terms of trying to look at the two applications they have in. And but Randy, I agree with your recollection of the history that I believe it was set up to closely mimic the Wisconsin fund because the belief was the Wisconsin fund was going away.
Okay, Lori, I have one more question I want you to ask them. Are they charging any type of administrative fee to administer this, even though no loans have gone out?
I do not know the answer to that, so I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Okay, and good thoughts by all. And here, I think you can sum it up like this, and I might have even said this before with this POUTS program. We're a policy board. Well, one of the steps of policy, as we all know, is evaluation. Well, I think now is the time to evaluate this program. It's pretty straightforward. So let's have some discussions in the future on it. Just know that you'll get some more information in the near future. But circling back to the strategic plan, which is a component of the strategic plan, that's why we're talking about it, but is there anything else to add for this? Okay. And we have a slate of work. You just heard a little bit of discussions that we're going to have to take place before this next board hits, or at least start having those discussions before the next board hits, Vice Chair. So we do have a little bit of work that we'll try and get done before the end of this term. Okay. Thank you. All right. Anything else? Seeing none. Okay. We're on item 6, policy issues, discussion, and committee determination of the county board for its consideration. None. 7, next meeting, January 4th, 2022, 3 p.m., assembly room and future agenda items. 7A, committee members are asked to bring ideas for future discussion. 7B, announcements, requests, correspondence. And I know we've got a few. So let's start with Rick.
The January 4th. January 4th. Yeah, this is green.
We're close enough to the end. Here you go. There you go.
I ain't touching it. The January 4th meeting, I will not be able to attend. I will be down at the Fair Convention down south. But I did tell Tom and Jamie for Park Commission and Forestry, if they did plan on having a meeting, I can get attended on WebEx. And if we have a quorum problem, I can always check in with you and we can go from there. So that's all I got.
Thanks, Rick. All right. Lori.
Yeah, I have an announcement. He's hiding up there, but it is with heavy heart that this will be Dom's last ERC meeting. He has taken a job with the Village of Plover, and we're very excited for him as he moves on to his next path in life as a planner with the Village of Plover. But Dom has been with us for 4 years, and most of those you have been running the ERC, I do believe. So we did want to thank you and wish you the best of luck in your next job path, and welcome Robert Hoffman, who has also been with us a little less than 4 years, almost going on 3.5, 4 years, and he will be taking over the ERC for now, proposing the rezones, leading the meeting, everything. So that is why we have him here today too. So he did a great job, I think, with your first time out, and you'll be taking it from here forward. So thank you, Robert, for taking that on. So
You're welcome.
Yeah, if I could say a few words. Thank you, Lori. And I also wanted to thank the committee. I know over the past few years, there's been a significant amount of progress with these rezones and how we move these processes through. And the committee's always been very supportive. and very knowledgeable when it comes to these different topics, not only with the rezones, but the text amendments and everything like that. So I do greatly appreciate that. I think these types of opportunities has helped me grow as a person as well as a professional. So I wanted to take that opportunity to thank you as well as all of the staff that are involved with it, including Cindy Gregory here, Robert Hoffman, and Lori Miskimmons. So I do greatly appreciate it. And I know the annual revisions will be coming to ERC in January and February, so you may see me in the back in the public just to see how things are going. But again, I just wanted to say my sincerest thank you for everything.
Well, I know I can say without a doubt a humongous thank you from not only the current individuals on this body, but as well as the past individuals that have served on ERC. A big thank you, Dom. I remember you would call me and you'd say, Chair, I don't mean to take up your time. And I'd always say, Dom, I don't mind, because you're keeping us all informed. And that is one of the greatest quality that you have, Dom, which is that you keep everybody informed and you provide very good information. So thank you so much for your time here. And I really do wish you luck in Plover. You're going to do great. All right. Anything else? Nobody else say they're leaving, by the way. Nobody else gets to say that today. Oh, and Robert, congratulations. Thank you.
Wait, Eric Vogel wants to chime in.
Eric, go ahead.
My term on the FSA committee expires at the end of December, so there will be a new person joining you guys in January. I just want to take a minute to thank you all. It was a pleasure meeting you. It's been different here the last couple of years with COVID. I'd much rather eat in person, but over the phone has worked. I have a new appreciation for what goes on in the county and how things are handled. And, you know, as a farmer, as a citizen, as a resident, and also as town chairman, I have a whole new respect for what goes on here. And I just want to say thank you all for your time and the input you put into doing everything.
Well, Eric, you didn't hear that last part where I said nobody else gets to say they're leaving, did you?
I did. Yeah, I did, unfortunately. But I had to be the last one, I think. I hope.
I hope. Well, Eric, yeah. Thank you so much for your service. And we definitely appreciate, obviously, the work that we get to do with the with FSA. And your term coming to an end here in December. Wish you well, of course. And hopefully... and I'm sure that the committee will cross paths with you and probably in the future. So we look forward to the next successor, but you did an outstanding job in the years that you've been with this group. So thank you so much.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say that
thank you.
I have been a member of the ERC since its beginning. I've seen a lot of different people come and go, and I think this is an excellent committee for Marathon County in the leadership from the staff and the members. It's a good working committee.
Very good. A high point to end on for the end of the year, right? Because I don't think we'll be meeting until January 4th. So thank you all for the work that you do. That being said, happy holidays to everybody, because we won't see we won't see each other before the end of this year. And be safe, be happy. Yeah, that's all I have. So that being said, I don't see anybody else wishing to speak. Motion adjourned would be in order. Motion by Supervisor Drabeck. Eric, you want to take the second? It's your last meeting.
Sure, I'll take the second.
All right. Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
This meeting is no longer being recorded.